Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Pathways Educational. If you're like me, you have seen 3 Pathways Educationals or more now, and still found yourself to be a little bit confused on the content. People have this focus when it comes to Pathways of putting all of their eggs in the "what can Pathways do" basket. What I'd like to share with you today is, what do you need to do in Pathways to proceed? So we're not going to focus on the full functionality because there's a lot of it, and it does have a lot of extras, but the extras are not required to progress with your path. And in making this as easy as possible for the end user, we want to remove all the fluff and just get down to the nitty-gritty. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, and you should all see the Toastmasters website. I'll ask, just for optimization of the internet here, that we please mute our videos if we're on Zoom today. Just turn off your video, and then hopefully we won't have such internet lag on your end of things and on our end of things. Some of the questions that people had presented to me in my fact-finding mission here, trying to find out what you wanted out of Pathways. One of them was simply how to navigate to Pathways. So we're definitely going to focus on that. Another was how to proceed from your current speech and move on and update your tasks. And another one was how to input speeches that someone has completed, say in the past, outside of Pathways, and get them into Pathways. And so we're going to cover all these bases through the presentation. The first thing is first, when you come to the Pathways website, I just have to figure out how to get rid of this. All right, when you navigate to the Pathways website, you're simply going to go to Pathways and click Go to Basecamp. Basecamp is where everything starts. So I'm just, for the ease of time and the internet lagging, I already have it preloaded. When you click Go to Basecamp, it's going to ask you to log in. Everyone should have their login details. You simply put in your email address and your password for toastmasters.org. If you don't have those credentials, please reach out to myself or Ulrich and we'll help you get them. That will take you to the Pathways Learning Experience page. From here, if you are a new Toastmaster, you're going to want to click on Choose Your Path. It says $20 US. That's for me because I've already completed one and I'm working on my second, and I now pay $20 US for a new path. But when you are brand new to Toastmasters, you get your first path for free. So you're simply going to continue the path selection, and it's going to have you do a quiz, and it's going to present you with the top 3 paths that meet what you are hoping to achieve out of Pathways. You do not have to pick one of those. You can go through, research them all, and pick which one you think fits you better, as opposed to which one Toastmasters thinks fits you better. So a lot of the questions are focused on, what do you excel at? Let's make you better at that. But you might want to focus on, what do I not excel at? What do I really want to work on and dive hard into the education? And that's where you might make a different selection. From here, we're just going to click on Go to Basecamp. This other button here, most of you won't have. That's for us to manage your Pathways on the back end. So it's just going to say Go to Basecamp, and you're going to click on that. You're going to get to the Basecamp. This is where all of your training comes to be completed. If you scroll down here, there's a few buttons, but simply what you want to do is get to your curriculum. So in Paths and Learning, you're finding your curriculum here. My current curriculum is called Presentation Mastery. So I would click Open on this curriculum, and then I'm going to get right into the content. There's a lot of pages here, a lot of clicking, but once you get there, this is where you stay. We're now into Presentation Mastery. Level 1 is where everyone starts and everyone does the same speeches. I've just ruined it, but I was going to ask, does anyone know what the speeches are for Presentation Mastery? There's 5 presentations. So everyone does their icebreaker. Everyone does their evaluation and feedback. That is 2 speeches. And that is where you present a speech, you are evaluated, and then you take that evaluation and fold it into your speech and present the same speech a second time. Also along with that is the 4th presentation in level 1, which is you have to evaluate another member. Your 5th speech in level 1 is research and presenting. And that's a speech where you research a specific topic and present it with data, with facts, with any extra material. It's one of the harder speeches to give because it requires a lot of accessory research. And then level 1 completion. This is the part that allows you to leave level 1 and start level 2. But we're gonna jump on over now to level 3, which is where I am currently, so I can show you the active content, because launching this after it's all been completed would be somewhat redundant. So we're in level 3. I am currently in level 3. We're gonna jump in. Let's actually pop back a second. So there's 2 types of project in each level apart from level 1. You have what they call mandatory speeches. In level 3 of presentation mastery, can anyone tell me what my mandatory speech is from the screen? Persuasive speaking. I have to do persuasive speaking. That one I actually completed last week with you all. I have to complete persuasive speaking. I have no choice in level 3 but to do that one. And then I have to do 2 elective projects. And now my elective projects are available in the View Details tab. And you'll see I have a lot of options. A lot of options. I've already selected one which represents the presentation that I'm doing today, which is creating effective visual aids. I haven't opened this yet. I did a somewhat summary of what it would be using other functionality on the website. And now we're going to open this up and I'll show you how it works. This is where we might have the lag. This is my project for today. One of the important things to note is Pathways is like your VP of Ed, but not our attentive, ever-present VP of Ed. Pathways is like your VP of Ed who is the most curious and least observant, and you have to tell it everything that you do. So when we come in here, you get a brief introduction to the task and the project, and then you have to assess your skills. This might seem like something that you can blow past, but if you do, you cannot complete the project. So this assessing your skills before is mandatory. You have to do it. We've run into a few problems where people haven't done the assess your skills before or after, and that's caused them to not be able to progress in their path. This is mandatory, something that we have to do. So we're gonna say, am I confident when using my media and visual aids? Somewhat, let's just say a 2 out of 5. I have the skills necessary, 2 out of 5. I'm able to decide on the proper application, 2 out of 5. I plan to learn from this project. I recognize how this project applies to my life outside of Toastmasters. That I'm fairly confident on. And then I'm going to submit my answers to assessing my skills. This is important, again, because we will not be able to progress without it. Now that I've submitted them, I can move on. I'll go back and review this content on my own in my own time, but I want to get you guys to the project. So this is the learning. We're going to read through this. We're going to complete all of this. Again, you can skip through all this without it affecting your ability to process your award at the end. But for time, I'm just going to skip through it now. Okay, then you'll get to the complete your assignment page. You're going to read through here. It's going to allow you to print the project checklist. You're going to print the project checklist, and that will allow you to create your speech for Pathways. That's when you will schedule your speech with your VP of Education, or as we use just on the website, Free Toast Host, you're going to go ahead and schedule your speech. After you've got to this point, you will schedule your speech. I'm going to leave this for myself to complete at a later time. And I'm going to go back to my speech that I presented last week, which I didn't complete for the purpose of this presentation. This will pick up where I left off, which is at the preparing your speech. So we're assuming that I have come here, I have given my speech, I've read through all the content, I've done the project checklist, I've came here, I've presented my speech, you all loved it, I mean, standing ovation, and then now I'm going home and finishing my assignment by going on to Pathways. Again, that's that least attentive VP of Education. I now have to tell it exactly what I did. And so my evaluation, this will allow me to print the evaluation resources and such before my speech. I personally use the Free Toast Host website to print them, but you can do it this way as well. Assess your skills after. Mandatory again. If you don't do this, it will not allow you to complete the project. Do I understand how to identify the appropriate type of persuasive speech for my topic? This I feel like I'm fairly strong at, especially after reviewing the content on Pathways. I'm capable of researching a topic and developing a persuasive argument. I can articulate my viewpoint confidently. I'm able to deliver a persuasive speech to an audience. I recognize how it applies to my life outside of Toastmasters. This was the speech I gave last week about hand washing, and then afterwards I'll see my feedback. So this is where I felt I was before and after I gave my speech. A small difference, but that's education. It's one day at a time, 1 point out of 5 at a time. Now that I've completed that assess my skills after, I'm going to move on, and it says, congratulations, you've completed this project. If you don't get the congratulations, you've completed this project, it was likely due to assessing your skills before or after. So we're going to shut that down. And it's going to update and it's going to say evaluate. So now it doesn't say launch anymore, it says evaluate. That means that I have completed this project. When I go to evaluate, this is not mandatory, but it is nice to do for Toastmasters. And they'll just tell you, how did you feel about that particular project? And we're just going to go somewhat agree for expedience here. I'll typically give them legitimate answers. And that's me now completed that project. It says launch again, but it's got the little tick next to it, and it shows that I've completed right here 1 out of 3 minimum required tasks to progress. Once I have done that, once I have completed all 3, so 2 electives and 1 mandatory, this level 3 completion of presentation mastery is going to show up. And there's going to be a little box here that says submit. And I'm going to submit my completion to the VP of Ed, Secretary, and President. One of them will receive it and approve it, and at that time, level 4 will become available for me. And that's how we're progressing. In terms of if you are now on Pathways, you're firing up Pathways, and this is your first time using the technology, but you've banked speeches, unfortunately, the process for that is to take your speeches, apply them to the speeches that are shown in your educational program. So for instance, let's say Ulrich is brand new to Pathways and he would like to apply 3 speeches that he has done to Pathways. Well, Ulrich gave an icebreaker, and he's going to go through the entire icebreaker project, and he's going to he's going to assess his skills before, he's going to assess his skills after, he's going to get all the way through, and it's going to say completed. And that will fulfill 1 speech on Pathways. And he's going to do the same for researching and presenting, because he gave a raucous speech about a topic that he presented. He researched very thoroughly. And then he's going to do the same for a 3rd speech. The 3rd speech would have to be evaluation and feedback. So either he got an evaluation and he represented that speech, or he didn't, and he now has to represent it with the evaluation applied. So applying your current speeches that you have done from the past to your new Pathways presentation program could be a bit of a tedious task. However, that's something that we have to go through all the steps. There is no way to skip you through level 1. We're unable to do it. So something to take into consideration when you do get onto Pathways. If you have any speeches banked, just spend some time to allocate yourself some time to go through all the steps to complete those speeches so that you can move on to where you're actually working at today. So if you get to this point and you feel like you can't complete a level, then you're just going to reach out to myself, Ulrich, or Candace, and we're going to be able to help you get through it. It's something that sometimes there are sticking points. Sometimes we just haven't seen that you wanted approval and we haven't approved it yet, but this will take you through to the next path or the next level. Everything is the same for each level. So level 1, 5 speeches, the same 5 speeches for everyone, or same 5 presentations for everyone. Level 2, it has mandatory speeches, it has electives. Level 3, 4, 5, the same. And then you're going to complete your path. You're going to complete level 5 and you're going to get awarded with a level 5 of your path. However, there is a final speech for path completion at the bottom here, and you're going to have to complete that one too. It works out to about 16 speeches on average per path. So you're gonna, some of them are longer and a lot of them are projects that don't include lengthy speeches, but you're gonna work through. Also, you have the option, if you would like, during the electives, you do not have to do 2, you can do 5, you can do 6, you can do all of them, as many as you would like, if you would like to extend your path to a certain extent. However, once you submit completion on a level, I do not believe you can go backwards. So you have to continue moving forward. You have to ambulate. You have to keep moving forward in your path. That concludes the presentation of our Pathways Educational this morning. I hope that it cleared some stuff up for some of you. And at this time, I'd like to switch over to question and answer. So if anyone has any questions, you guys can all turn your cameras back on. And if you have a question, just give me a wave and let me know, and we'll take some questions if there are any. And if not, more table topics. Darwin.
So I have done a couple of the pieces to the puzzle, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it required that you go in sort of, you said icebreaker, then it said presentation?
I see.
But I've done an evaluation already, so can I, do I have to go sort of step 1, 2, 3, 4? Or?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You can complete it in any order that you want. Of course, we love it that you do your icebreaker first. That is your introduction to the club. But after that, any order that you would like to do it is the correct order. Yeah. Your evaluation that you completed when you evaluated someone else's speech is totally valid. We would recommend that you do that evaluation again during the project, because we want to actually evaluate your evaluation during Pathways. Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you.
Ben, go ahead. A really good job. I think the point I wanted to make too, you went through the 1-year sample, and every project's identical where you get this video. You start, it has that initial assessment, it gives you the content, like Ben says, the final assessment, and you're done. So every time you start a new project, it is very repeatable. Now beyond that, there's all kinds of information within Toastmasters that you can read and learn about techniques and skills for speaking. But it is really quite straightforward. And I think Ben has the key. You concentrate, really all you gotta do is do the before and after assessment. You can just cursor through. So, and then other people that aren't familiar with the video, you see the angle or the forward angle and back angle, that moves pages. all of the assessments, and there's other sheets, if you see the dots along the bottom, that means there's multiple
Tabs.
pieces of content on that one display. Excellent job.
Thanks, Buzz. Jock, I saw a hand, I think.
Because this has been out for a while, has Toastmasters International decided to tweak it at all or change it, or are they just saying, let's let it ride, see how it works?
In the time that I've been with Toastmasters, I've noticed that they have added some functionality, but they have not changed any of the old functionality. So what they've done is add the ability for you to insert your evaluations, and they've added the ability for you to request private evaluations from other members in your club. But I don't believe they've changed anything, although they did somewhat change the educational presentation in format. So it used to be a pop-up, and those pop-ups caused a lot of problems. And now what it does is actually create a new tab on your desk, on your internet browser, and that creates a lot less problems with functionality. People have a hard time with pop-ups, especially if you have a pop-up filter installed on your computer. But in terms of changing the content, they've added a path and they've added some functionality for the end user, but that would be advanced functionality that I personally don't partake in.
Thank you. Thanks.
Debbie?
Yeah, so when I go to my own pathways, like you'd see innovative planning, and then beside it is the open curriculum. But you also see, the icebreaker evaluation resource, and you see the navigator to launch. So I don't know if those are like things that are pending, and or like if maybe something is pending, if that's where you would. Okay.
No,
That's
if you're on, sounds like you're on Basecamp.
Yes, I am.
You want to open your curriculum, and that includes all of your educational content. Those
Oh.
extra things on your base.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I've
Like
seen.
bookmarks to other pieces of content, like quick links that'll get you there faster. But
Yeah. Okay.
going through the motions and opening your curriculum and going through where you think you are, if you've been able to progress this far and you've got completion on, say, your level 1, or your projects have been completed, then just disregard the hot links and just go through the motions, use the open curriculum and do everything from there. That's the best option.
Okay.
Shortcuts can often lead to failure.
Confusion.
In that regard too, I've noticed, like I've got, I think 4 or 5 different curriculums open.
Okay.
And one is for mentoring. So I
Yeah.
was trying to do the mentoring project with Salma before she left. So I think what happens, they're just like you say, bookmarks, and they just keep track of where you've progressed so far into that.
Yeah.
And I think with Navigator, there's one place in Navigator, I think it'll open it as a project too, and it'll keep track of where you left off.
Lots of extra functionality and rabbit holes, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Darwin.
So 2 questions. We talked about Basecamp being basically saying that this is where you're at, and this is a likely path that you want to do. What I've done right up to now is I have just sort of investigated what the various pathways are. So obviously I have completed Basecamp. So I'll need to do that, and that's through the Toastmasters.org website. What's the Free Toast host website?
Right. A lot of confusion in regards to us having 2 websites. One is Free Toast Host, which is sunriserd.toastmastersclubs.org. That is actually just an agenda planning website. So it's a tool to help club members and our VP of Education schedule speeches and roles for upcoming weeks. Before these types of websites, what we would use is an Excel spreadsheet. A lot of clubs still use an Excel spreadsheet. However, it's not available to everyone. And so Candace couldn't pull up this Excel web sheet from somewhere and figure out what her role was next week. She would have to call Ulrich. And you imagine at 20 members how many people would be calling Ulrich to say, hey, what was I next week? And so this basically just takes that functionality, puts it all into a website, but in turn it also adds extra functionality where you can, once you've selected what speech you're going to be presenting, it'll offer you the evaluation sheet and such. Just extra little things, but that is strictly for scheduling. So Pathways at some point will tell you, schedule this with your VP of Education. That means you're going to go to Free Toast Host and schedule that speech yourself. That's the difference.
So just to follow up, this is the agenda.
Yeah.
And I notice that there's sort of like radio buttons that says, you know, are you attending? Are you going to do a speech? Are you going to be a humorist or that kind of thing? Is that sort of what's going on there?
Yeah, that's what that, it's again, all scheduling. It's all agenda. It has nothing to do with Pathways. So even if you complete something on Free Toast Host, you say, I'm going to do this speech, and then you say, I've completed that speech, you still have to go to your absolutely non-observant, most curious VP of Education that is Pathways and tell them exactly what you did. So there is no functionality between the two. Yeah. Do we have any more questions for the morning?
One more quick one here. Thanks, Ben. Bill, and first of all, yeah, thank you for your commitment to the club in terms of helping us with our education on this process, especially the generational gaps that do occur with some of us beyond beyond a certain age, and your personal interest too with individual club members and helping with that, of which I have benefited. Thank you, and I'm sure you have with others. The area that in terms of navigating the pathway, yes, it does take patience and practice and working through and going in with a patient attitude has certainly been key for me. Still a challenge on getting to the point of completing a speech and then notifying the education lead that this has been completed and getting that just that past that step. Could you just give a really brief step process there of what to be looking at to get that achieved?
Okay. If you haven't been able to complete, it sounds like you've not been able to complete a level. Is that right?
It's working towards completing a level, yes, so that the education people can okay it, and I presume then send it into international, then that completes the circle. Okay.
If you haven't been able to do that, it's likely due to those assessing your skills that I've said before. If it's a project that is uncompleted, at the top of your path, it'll say how many projects are completed and how many are required. So if it says 3 and 3, and you're still not able to process that completion, then it sounds like a tech issue, something that we can resolve together. If it says 2 completed and 3 required, but you know that you've completed 3 speeches, that means that you're going to want to go back and reopen that project, one of those projects, whichever one is not showing that little check mark, and you're going to want to complete some of the functionality inside there. It may be that you completed your skills after your speech, but forgot to hit the submit button at the bottom. And something like that will hold up the whole thing, which is understandable, I guess. They really want you to evaluate yourself and before and after you've completed the project. So it's something that they make a mandatory part of the project. So if you're showing
that was a little bit of a glitch, and yes, we've identified that. So once the submit has happened and it's been accepted, everything else happens automatically?
Yes, once you've submitted your completion, one of us will go ahead and approve it. You should get an email saying it's approved unless it sometimes hits your spam folder. But when you go back into your pathways, you're going to find that now the next level is available to you. It doesn't, there is no regalia. They don't light it up or change it or anything. You'll just be able to click on it and now you have access to it. So go in and check that you have access. I do believe we processed completion for you recently. And so if you go in and check, you should be able to get on to that next one. But if you can't, let us know and we'll work through it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? All right, with that, I'm going to take the opportunity to wrap up. So today has been the Pathways Educational not what you can do with Pathways, but what you must do with Pathways to proceed with the educational program. I hope that you have all taken something from the presentation. I value any feedback that you have for me, and I will be uploading this with the permission of the people on Zoom whose faces will appear on that video. I'll be uploading this to YouTube, our club's YouTube page, so that everyone can access it. And so look for that email. I'll be asking for your permission. Outside of that, if you want to review the content, it will be up on YouTube in the coming days, hopefully, and you'll be able to do that. So thank you all very much this morning. I'll pass you back to our Toastmaster, Austin McGrath.
And with that, I think we are on time. We're running a little bit late. That's okay. So we'll call the meeting back at 7:43, giving everyone a chance